But that's where there's this friction between the two, right? I call it bullshit too. It's like, no wonder I've been haunted by this and scared of this since I was so young.
Refusing to just exist. I'm going to take my life and do something that I feel good about.
That perception of just that it's this like horrible, like life without
Yeah,
love.
we should be the cautionary tale. Welcome to another episode. Hi, Nicole. You have your
I
hair down and it's so different. I scream when I saw it.
I know I realize every single time we've recorded it's been up, but it does I do wear it down a couple times a week. So here we are.
But I also get that it's hot there, so sometimes it's like, yeah, it's up because the back of my head is it's sweaty.
Yeah,
Or
it's
at
just
least
more
that happens to
comfortable.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah.
You tell me this past week about a difficult situation navigating the world as a childless woman. Do you want to share that and start the conversation?
Yeah, so I've just been thinking about this a bit lately, like from a couple of different situations. One was just at work. Um, somebody who was sitting close to me came up and made a comment of, if you want to see a bunch of people who are pregnant or be around people who are expecting or whatever, go to this floor in this area. And I just said out loud without even thinking, like, no goddamn fucking way. And then I got laughter around me. And then I was like, well, let me just explain why. And it's really been a thing on my mind of just how tricky and challenging it could be. I feel like there's constantly triggers at work, which is really hard. Even just like something as simple as watching TV, as watching a reality show of some sort. And when it got to the final episode and sort of the last section where it sort of gives you a view of where these lives are
Yeah.
heading directionally in the future. One of them, they were basically announcing their pregnancy and going to see the baby. And I watched it right before bed. It immediately came on. I turned it off and I just felt myself like my nervous system just immediately wired and triggered
Yeah.
in that moment. And it can be really tricky, I think, navigating the world as somebody who really wanted kids and didn't have them. And there can be triggers everywhere and around a subject that so many people see as celebratory and is positive and is
Yeah.
wonderful. And it is in so many ways. And yet, for those of us who walk around with this grief, it's just, it can be so challenging at times and an invisible thing. People have no idea how, challenging it is. So,
I last week I think I saw a post about uh, also a situation at work with pregnancy and one of the comments was like gateway women and World Childless Week should do a better job in advocating and I told like both Gateway and World Childless Week are just one women, not the two
yeah.
of them, but Stephanie and Shodi. It's on us also to speak up. And this person keep pushing like, no, they are organization. And I told her like, let's agree to disagree because I realized that she wasn't going to understand that
Mhm.
neither Stephanie, Jody, you, me alone can change the
Yeah.
whole thing. But I like the you took the time to explain what you were feeling.
Yeah.
And outside this podcast, I talk a lot about it too. A lot of times when they ask me, do you have kids? No, I couldn't. It's not because I want to justify myself. It's about because or do and I don't feel the need to, oh no, I couldn't. I don't want the pity. I want to not ask the question to someone that might just discover that it's childless and can't cope with the answer, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
So it's it's a tricky thing. And as you said, it's around something that most people celebrate. And in my mind, yeah, it's life. Babies are so beautiful. And but at the same time, it's like I never had that. So that mixed emotion makes harder to celebrate because I don't know if a friend of mine gets pregnant now at 40 something, I would have a meltdown because I would be happy for her on, yeah, baby, I can be around a baby. And at the same time, it's no, no, I don't want that. I want my own. Why she and not me? And yeah, it's,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's hard. Yeah, I've really, since I've gotten like stronger in this area, it's been really important to me to be honest about it too. And what I've realized is that there's just so many people who have no idea, like really just don't know. And like I said, so when I said this comment at work, what I then found out, which I think I'd shared with you, is that the woman who had actually said this, like go down to this area, she's also really wanted kids and didn't have them. And so as soon as I said, this is the reason I'm having this reaction, she's like, yeah, me too. And then, we had a bit of a discussion about it. And I said, for me, one of the big things is like, I just want to educate people. Like, I think there's two different things. There's like building like a support community with others who like understand, but then there's also like educating
Yeah.
um, around this to people who just have no idea, who have never been around others who wanted kids and didn't have them and don't know how challenging it is and how painful it is. So that's been like a really important thing to me. I think what's been hard is when, I've taken it to people who I feel like could do something in terms of helping me and being an ally and building more of like sensitivity
Yeah.
training and educational training. And it hasn't really been, they
Yeah,
haven't really,
I
bought
remember you.
into it. That's been hard,
I remember
you
you
know?
brought that up in your HR department, and it was like, no, that's not an issue. It's like, yeah, it's so. I don't think people are trying to be mean, but I think it presents them with the shattering truth that no everybody is a mom and not everybody is child free because that's the
Yeah.
that's the narrative in their heads. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you didn't want because you're so living fabulous without kids, and you know what I mean. The
Oh, I
stereotype,
know.
the
Yeah.
fabulous child-free life, and then there's us. That is neither one of the other, and it's grief. And I think they can't cope with that shock.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't know what to do with us. And even if what I've noticed too is when people are talking about grief, and they'll list all the different kinds, we also get lumped into the loss of a dream. And it really drives me nuts because I
Yeah,
really feel like this needs to be its own category in and of itself. I
yeah,
don't think lumping it in with loss of a dream is really fair. Usually, death of a spouse, death of a child, those are always like named separately. And I feel like this is worthy of being named separately. I think
yeah.
it's devastating for people, like absolutely devastating. And it doesn't mean, once again, that you can't still have a fulfilling life, but it's
Mhm.
still a heartache that you always carry you. I think there's some dreams that you can move and you've let it go and it's gone. And I don't know, this for me is different and it deserves its own category.
Yeah, like a few years back, I think 2 years back, or I was already your friend. I was going to move to the US. Thank God I didn't. But I,
Blessing in disguise.
yeah, absolutely. I can't. Sometimes it's like, oh my God, something big is protecting me. With I do dodge a cannonball, but I think I had that dream. I was building that dream, and that dream went away, and it's okay. Now I can say, okay, I touched a bullet and that kind, but I was okay with that. It was a dream, it died. But
Mhm.
childlessness is until the day I die, because it's I'm not a mother, then I'm not a grandmother, not I'm not in the everyday. I'm picking up the kids from soccer or to the school or birthday parties. It's not just a dream. It's a whole identity, and we are so invisible. And more so if we are also single. It's like this
Yeah,
is a couple retreat without kids. Oh fuck, I don't have a couple, a partner.
yeah, yeah. And how many things are priced and targeted towards pairs and couples. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then well, one thing that I struggle with a bit, which I think I've shared to you, is just because it is so hard. It's I think when there are pregnancies and births, it's really, really hard for me, to respond in a way that is sort of expected of a certain person, of an adult, mature person. The congratulations, the reaching out. There was, a coworker who who had a baby, and I think I mentioned to you, like we were, it's a coworker slash friend. Like we don't really hang out outside of work, but she did text me when my dad passed, and it's and she had a baby. I still haven't reached out, it's been a number of months now, and it weighs on me in the sense of like I feel like I'm, not like being mature or kind or adult or all of these things, and yet I really, I have reached out to other people where it felt like there was a relationship that warranted it, but like I don't know, I just for some reason I'm having a really, really hard time with this one, um, and haven't. And I've just had to really practice a lot of like mercy and compassion and forgiveness with myself. Um, and to just give myself permission that I don't have to do this for everybody.
And
Because it's
so
actually just that hard.
what what being an adult means? Because I think taking care of oneself is way more important than being the congratulations and dying on the inside or having a panic attack on the floor.
Yeah.
S- That that's another thing. A lot of times I feel like I'm not an adult as a perceived adult by the society because I'm single, I'm childless. So it's like, oh, and I have this odd job that is not going to an office from 9 to 5. So it's like, oh, you don't do anything. You're just a teenager. And it's like, no, I'm an
Yeah.
adult in another form. I had to cope with a lot of shit on my life, and this is how my life looks now. But I am an adult.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the reason it's so hard for me, to be honest, is I think this probably comes from different places, but I did have a friend in high school who was sort of one of those like wise beyond her years in certain ways. And sort of like it was like, we would be like 16. She was like 16 going on 40 kind of thing. Um, but I don't know, there's something she got in my head in some way. And something about the ways, the things that you do. And I do realize that these are sort of like narratives and not inherent truths, but something got in me about,
Yeah.
like she was always like, you go to people's weddings, you spend this much at a wedding, you do this, you do this. These are the marks of like a mature adult, supportive friend. And I think a lot of that narrative, and even when we hadn't been in touch for years, and then we did connect a few years ago, and then she's disappeared again, which was really heartbreaking because I don't exactly know what's happened there. Um, but when we did connect, I remember she mentioned another friend, and she's like, oh, there's somebody who's really like, handled life's challenges with a lot of like character and it was hard for me because I don't know that she was necessarily like comparing me, but I do feel that she is there sort of as like this almost like devilish, like of like this is the way you behave and this is what you do. And I think it had a really profound impact on me, one that I'm still kind of unpacking and
Yeah,
digesting and it's funny how these voices just get in our head, right?
yeah,
And I think too, like even in this show that I was watching where there's this pregnancy, it was like the Netflix football like quarterback show, which I find the people kind of engaging for some reason. But it was like, one of the guys got booted from the team, or not booted, but booted from the being the lead quarterback. And, it very much was like, how do you show up to the team and continue to be a team member? And I think I asked these same questions in terms of relationships with others. And, like okay, I just have to let myself off the hook.
a few, I think a few weeks back or last month, I can't remember. A friend of mine that he doesn't live in the same city had a son, and I was talking with him because it was not natural late. How do you say?
Was it like IVF, artificial
No,
insemination, or
he got some woman pregnant by accident. He was like, I don't want kids, and he was
wow,
devastated because he was going to have a kid. But the kid was born by cesarean. How do you say it?
cesarean? Yeah,
Yeah,
cesarean.
I don't know. I don't know the pronunciation,
Yeah.
and my brain farted hard. And I texted him if everything was okay, and I congratulated him. But in the deal, hi, how are you? Uh, can I say you congratulations or how are you feeling? And he was ecstatic. He sent me a picture. Okay, I say, oh, nice, nothing else.
Hmm.
Then I contacted him for another thing because he's a veterinarian and I was asking about my dogs and that the
Yeah.
thing I have to like I go for you to you with something and then a friend veterinarian with other. And he
Hmm.
sent me another picture and I said nothing. I stopped talking and I stopped talking for a month. I never addressed it. He never addressed it, but he knows that he hurt me. I'm not expecting him to apologize. I know he did it without realizing. But I didn't feel guilty about, okay, I'm not going to engage in your baby things. I know you're now excited because you have the actual physical human being and that you didn't
Hmm.
want. But again, I think I handled it in a mature way because 15-year-old Laura would like, the fuck are you sending me baby pictures? Are you stupid or what? It was like, yeah,
Yeah.
I can deal with this. I can't. But I
Yeah.
get all the expectations you absorb. I did have like I live in a really small town until I was 18, and what is an adult like, and how you do have to behave and dress, and don't have colors in your hair. But the truth is, uh, in my 20s, I started having panic attacks because the trauma and the pressure. So for me now, it's like, fuck it. You know, fuck you and your adulthood and how things are supposed to be, because nothing in my life was supposed to be the way it is. And it is. I'm here, you know. But I get
Yeah.
the untangle the narrative and learn the beliefs, and it's it's a lot too. It's a process and you don't have there is no date you can celebrate. Oh, today is the anniversary. I untangled this narrative. It's like, but it would be
Yeah.
awesome.
Yes, it would. It would. And yeah, and just to one little nuance I want to make is it's sort of more about like character, like being a person of good character versus like being an adult. And there's like almost a moral quandary there. It's like that's I think where the hook and where the challenge is for me. And I don't know what the answer is. Even going back to like pictures. Like, I don't like my friends sending me pictures of their kids, especially babies. And
Yeah,
especially, like the one friend that I was mentioning where this hook, I think, kind of started when we reconnected. She was immediately sending me pictures of her kids. And it was really, really hard. And it's been, like, I don't know how to have conversations with friends with kids on this because as much as this hurts me and is hard for me and is painful for me, those are also their hearts, their love, the joys
yeah.
of their life. Like, so it's a really complex thing, and I don't know the answer to it. And I've never been able to really have a conversation with a friend who is a parent about, like, and especially like at Christmas time, which is when people want to send pictures of their kids. It never feels like a real check-in with me. It feels like it's more about them talking about this, their lives, which I get that they want to share, right? Which is also the conundrum, right? But yet it's hard when what they want to share is really, really hard for me. And then I also want to hear about it, but yeah, I also don't. And I find it really, really hard.
We don't do Christmas post post that in Argentina. We don't.
Nice. You're good.
And when I started seeing that it wasn't just a movie thing, that it is an actual thing, I my take in it is you want to show how good you are, but it's not necessarily true. For me, it's another version of Pinterest or any social media thing that you pop around Christmas time and say, this is my perfect house, and this is my perfect husband, and these are my perfect kids, and that's bullshit. I get the wanting to take the picture, for example, for a memorabilia, but you don't have to send that to everyone. And I think
Yeah.
it tells more about the ones that are sending that you as a receiver, because it's like, yeah, they weren't thinking about you when they send it.
Yeah, I'm still conflicted. It's like,
That's why it's my take, because I don't live in that culture.
yeah, and there certainly is that take. There was a musical. Oh, there was an Alanis Morissette musical. They did a musical to Jagged Little Pill album, and at the very, not to spoil it for anybody, but like it starts with like the Christmas letter with the everything's perfect, and then it ends with the like everything's falling apart in all of these ways, and like we're just going to tell the
Yeah.
world that everything's a total mess, right? But I will say in reality, in terms of whom I've experienced it from, because it was also big, like, so my dad was German. And at least in his world of like who he knows in Germany and of that, like they do that, but it doesn't feel like a show-offy thing. It feels more like we want to share what we've been up to in this last year of our lives. And so I don't know, like I'm of mixed opinion of it. Yeah, I prefer not. And then it's like I don't want to be left out, but then I don't really want to get it either. It's really,
But I
so
think,
hard.
but that's kind of my point. I would, if someone wants to send the Christmas picture, I got one once about it from a rescue, and it's her puppies with
Mm.
with Christmas hats. And but if you want to like reach out and say, hi, happy Christmas, this is what we've been up to. If you have a childless, or maybe you have a recent widow or widower, You don't
Yeah.
need to send them the perfect picture. You can send them an email or a postcard that is more like a flower or something, and send something like,
Yeah.
I wish you have a good Christmas, a good holiday, because it's New Year's is also glue there, and say something like, I've been up to this, I can tell you about that, but not the image is like, whoa. Instead, if
Yeah.
it's a paragraph about my kids are doing, I can skip it if I can't read it in that precise scenario.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what's nice too? I mean, I find that I too prefer the ones that are like, let's check in, you and I. So it's
Yeah,
not necessarily about the tell me how you're doing, tell me what's going on in your world. How are you getting through the season? Is it good? Is it a good one? Is it a bad one? Is it a
yeah,
man one? What is it? Like, here's me, like I have noticed that I've been more sort of drawn towards mothers who can actually talk about themselves and make our relationship more about, us. And there are the other relationships that obviously, of course, come into it, but
yeah.
there's really, and so I think where I have trouble is where there is that maybe it's really about that disconnect between our relationship. And sometimes I feel like when the picture and the, year in review summary is sent without that, it feels a little hollow to me. Maybe that's really what's going on.
But I think I again I speak for me, but I was surrounded by that kind of people, and
Mhm.
year after year I kind of shake them like fallen leaves in autumn. It's like, yeah, fall away. We grew out of touch, and I don't feel like I'm losing something, because I felt like those relationships were not a two-way street. It was like, I'm so good and never how I was at that moment, or what were my struggles, or even can I help you with something.
Mhm.
But again, it's my personality. I don't grow too attached to people. I
Mm,
like I can't stop talking to my mom, and it would like, oh, okay, that happened.
right.
But I am
Yeah,
also the one that
yeah,
does the check-in and the seeking of having a friendship. But if I don't
yeah,
feel it's not rewarding, but if I don't get the feedback that person is really interested in me, it's like, yeah, no, I'm not doing this. I already have so many abusive relationships that this shit is not for me anymore.
yeah, 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 I get that. And yeah, I'm certainly like that with certain, but others I think are just a little bit more complex. And I think it also goes back to this, sometimes people don't really understand really what's really going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah. And it's because there's also not a formula, it's person to person variations. I
Yeah.
know I send you sometimes a WhatsApp and you reply to me 3 days later, and I don't get mad at you. But some of my
Mhm.
friends that do that, I can get mad at them because I don't know, I know they live on WhatsApp, or they are texting stupid shit to another of our friends. So it's that person to person thing.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
also have friends that I reply like 3 days later and everything is okay, because we know life it's complicated and busy and etc.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's very true.
And going back to the to the pictures, I remind when you were talking, I remember the last 2 months I have seen a lot of childless coaches, especially posting things on their feed about babies. And for me, it's so triggering, because I have a curated feed that sometimes Facebook violates by with ads or stupid shit that I don't
Yeah.
care about. But thinking, okay, I'm going to enter to, or I'm going to see Nicole's feed and I don't know, Carrie's and show it. Okay. And then you posted a baby and it's like, why you do do that, you know?
I'm curious, actually. Have any of them explained why they're doing that
I think
or
they were nephews. I just glanced it and it's like, but I don't know. Post a bunch of pictures and that like in the, like there's one, two, and then it tells you 8 plus, for example. Not the first picture is a baby. I felt like, oh my God, I'm not safe even in the childless space. And I'm not triggered
yeah,
easily, but it caught me off guard completely.
yeah, it would totally catch me off guard. Well, and there that goes to speak of like the individual differences too, right? Like for some people, it's much easier than
Yeah.
it is for others, right? Yeah, I mean, I think I've mentioned that it's hard for me actually sometimes hearing Jody and Katie talk about how they feel like they're, at the other side of their childless grief and they feel more child free and like
Yeah.
they feel with like, with it as if, they had chosen it and whatnot. And there might be the occasional grief. Whereas for me, it feels much different. So I think there is just a lot of even variation within the childless community.
Yeah. I feel I feel I'm more in this her their side, but at the same time, I I have kind of a curated life, but because it didn't start around childlessness, it started about my anxiety. So when I realized I'm childless, it was like easier to no triggers or, but of course I get them.
Yeah, yeah. Um, what's coming to mind, it's a little bit more on like the single side, but so I was watching another TV show called The Gilded Age. Have you ever watched it?
No, I don't have
It's
Netflix. So if you're talking about Netflix, yeah.
no, it's not on, it's on I think it's on Amazon or whatnot, but I know you download too, so never know. But anyways, it takes place like, during the Gilded Age of America. But there's a woman played by, oh my God, what's her face? She was on Sex and the City, the
Oh,
redhead.
Miranda.
I'm
Miranda
totally
in Sex
blanking
and
on
the
her name.
City. I can't remember her
Yes.
name, but it's Miranda.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So she plays somebody who's like a spinster. And I was watching an episode and they were talking about being a spinster and how, like essentially like horrible it is. And I was like, no wonder all of this like lives within me, all of like the shame and
Yeah.
all of it. And they talk about it as if it's like this scene was like as if it was the most horrible thing in the world. And I imagine, at that period of time, it probably was much different experience than it is today. But it's amazing how the just that lives within us. And then when you see it on TV, and it goes back to like when you see yourself represented on TV, even though it's a totally different time period with whatever
Yeah.
narrative is going in there, like the way that it affects you, and
Mhm.
people's perceptions of you, right? Because if somebody's watching that but doesn't know somebody who can add sort of, again, that complexity to what the experience actually is, that perception of just that it's this like horrible like life without love and which just isn't the case, right? But I mean, like, no wonder I've been haunted by this and scared of this since I was so young.
But it's also the capitalism way to kind of punish us. You have to be
Mm.
sad because you didn't choose to settle for something.
Or kind of a threat, if we're happy
Yeah.
and fulfilled. Like, I mean, the threat right now of, us to that narrative that's going on, the pronatalist narrative that's so
Yeah.
dominant and
We
so
should
out
be
there right
the
now, right?
we should be the cautionary tale.
Yeah. Yes. That's a good, we are the caution. And that's, I really reject the way that people use that's, I think one of my critiques, and that's a great way of putting it, of the way that this narrative is happening is the way that some people use us as a cautionary tale. And I just,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, but
don't like
I'm
it.
also seeing a lot of change in that regard too.
Yeah. Oh, totally. But that's where there's this friction between the two, right?
Yeah,
Like, and so it's like because there's this like incredible, like almost antagonistic between the yay single, yay no children versus, family is the way and it's a existential threat. There's a real um clash. And again, I feel like we get a little lost in there too, right? So,
yeah, but what I don't understand is like I get the companies and the monopolies, trying to undermine being single, but I don't get why, like the wife with two, three, 20 kids is threatened by us,
mm,
is like I'm not attacking your way of life. I'm saying your way of life is valid and my way of life is valid.
mhm.
Because there's also this like, oh, you choose to be single or you choose to be childless. No, there were a lot of circumstances that appear like choices, but they aren't. And I'm refusing to just exist. I'm going to take my life and do something that I feel good about. And why is that threatening to other kind of life? I
Yeah, I
that
don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if there's something unconscious going on where there's something that they want, they don't want to look at it because they don't have it. I don't know
Yeah,
if there's more concerned about the existential threats to,
yeah,
civilization as we know it. I don't know if it's more of like just being so like hell bent on their like what they call their values around family and feeling that the family itself is threatened. I mean, who knows, right?
yeah. But a lot of childless and single women, we don't attack the nuclear family. We have friends that are in the nuclear family. We just want to live.
Yeah, the other thing that I just thought of is that I've seen too is that people will say that when you have like those who are sort of childless, who they don't have a stake in future generations, and when they're in a position of power and making policy and that kind of thing, they're not actually thinking about children or families, or I call it bullshit too, because I don't
Yeah,
think that's the case at all. But I mean, there's a whole bunch of ideology that's passed around, and I'm sure that there's a great many, um, yeah, reasons for it.
the other day I was in Threads, and there was this thread that the full podcast had replied to, that there was an article from the BBC telling no parent should, I don't know what environmental thing. And they replied to like childless people are deeply involved in environmental things,
Mhm.
and you're losing 20% of the population. And I felt so enraged to be left out of that, because I recycle, reuse, have a lot of consciousness about the clothes I wear, not to, and try to not buy brands that are polluting African coasts. And it's, a lot of parents I know, especially in Argentina, don't care about that because they are too
Mm.
busy. So I have the time to reflect on that and to take action about that. And yeah, I'm not leaving any kid behind me. I'm not taking care of the planet because my kid is on it. I'm taking care of the planet because I'm human.
Yeah. I know I've heard a lot of people say in the childless community, just like when people, when you'll see something like, as a parent, I'm so concerned about like the earth and future generations. And I've heard so many people say, myself included, like as a person, as a human being, an inhabitant of Earth who cares about people and the earth and the future, I'm concerned. Like this isn't just a parental concern, and it's really annoying. I hate not like I get that there's place for it because I will say like as a single childless, I have X and Y experience, so I get it. But more often than not, when there's the as a parent, I fucking want to sock somebody so bad because there is a place for it, but like 9 times out of 10, it's not appropriate and it doesn't matter and it's
I
irrelevant to
get
what we're
the
discussing.
Yeah, I get the as a parent if you are talking about, I don't know, a school or the education system that I'm also concerned about, but I know nothing. As a
Hmm.
parent, I think my kids should have more vacations. I don't know.
Yeah,
But as a parent in the environment, it's like, no, I'm a fucking human being and I want this planet to survive. So why don't I have a
yeah,
boat?
yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah,
so yeah, I agree with you. As a parent, uh, unless it's something that affects your kid and it doesn't have anything to do with me, like location of the school, I can care less.
yeah,
Yeah, I care if they build the school right next door. It's like, no, no, I'm out of here. But yeah,
yeah,
I think we are kind of changing the narrative one person at a time and one little answer or comment at the time. And it's going to
yeah,
take a long, long time and effort and more of us speaking up.
yeah,
There is no way around it. And I get when you're in the midst of the grief, you can't speak up. But when you start to feel better, at least confide in a friend. This is what I'm feeling.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm really grateful to be at a point where I can like speak up about it and have
yeah,
conversations about it. It's yeah, like you said, it's like one person, one conversation at a time. But like I said, the number of people that I've where I've shown, and it's usually like mothers in particular,
yeah,
women of sort of my age, maybe a bit older, who just and they just really have no idea. Like they just don't know, right? So I like to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, but it really opens their eyes. And so yeah,
yeah.
a couple of years back, I had really wanted to get into advocacy work, and it kind of just
I
hasn't gone
remember.
that way. Yeah, other things have happened. And so I sort of see my advocacy as one conversation at a time.
Yeah, I think like I started this podcast to help, but I advocate in my everyday life also to help
Yeah,
because it's not something that you just do in English or you just do on a YouTube channel. It's something
yeah,
that it's the it's the drop in the in the rock that it keeps.
yeah.
So, yeah, love. Do we leave it here?
I think that's a good place to end.
I think so too. Yeah, with a more uplifting message. Speak
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again for another conversation and s- talk to you in this week.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Bye bye.